This is Adam Watson.
And Olias Spainhower.
And you're listening to the Darkslinger Mafia podcast. So, Elias, you don't actually work in the comic industry, but over the last year, you've been helping me out several different shows. You've been to about, 6 or 7 conventions now?
Yeah, I'd say about that.
Okay. So, just to introduce you to our listeners, tell us a little bit about your experience with comics.
I think I was into them a lot more when I was a kid, like more than I thought I originally was.
Do you remember what your first comic was?
I don't, actually, but like the more I'm looking through them and seeing comic characters, like going through boxes and boxes of comics, I'm starting to recognize things that I didn't even know I even saw or read before.
Okay.
And it's just kind of like an adventure, and I'm like, I have all this, read a lot of D&D books, so I like lore or comic lore that I just learned to crave and like been growing on me.
Okay, fair enough. So let's skip the part where you found any of them as a child.
Yeah.
Because you don't remember what any of that was. How'd you get into them as an adult? It's fair to say you're into them now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
As an adult, really, you just kind of asked me for help, and I was just kind of down for it. I've always liked Comic-Cons. I've never been to one. I've just always wanted to go and check them out. And for me, it was more the video games and kind of cosplayers and stuff that I originally interested me in them, just because I always thought it'd be fun to like dress up and whatnot. But yeah, so pretty much just you just started working for you. Like, people asked me questions about some stuff. I knew a little bit, but nothing major, and just kind of just learned on the fly, and obviously asking you millions and millions of questions on our trips all the way out to these. You kind of got me back into that whole scene that I totally forgot I even...
All right.
Yeah.
So, to date, you have done, we'll just say 6 conventions. I'm not sure without sitting down and figuring out what you've been at.
Yeah.
Exactly how many it's been.
Yeah.
But we'll just say 6. Some of them being as close as just, a half hour away, and some of them being as far as 7 hours away.
Yeah, that was a
good
trip.
How have you been enjoying the convention life so far?
The people are awesome. Like, yeah, you have a couple of your, I don't know, you wouldn't call them scammers, but they're just like always not trying to undercut you, but they're just, I don't know, they seem to have an agenda other than just finding something they like or completing their collection. Or
oh, you mean people who are primarily looking to flip something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 90% of the people, they're just awesome, talking about their projects or what they did or have transitioned into, like meeting people like Floyd. He was just a really awesome person to have a booth next to. Yeah, just a lot of the people were just really awesome, and I can ask them questions, and they're just totally happy to answer and like fill me in with everything they know.
The convention that I did last weekend in Salem, Floyd was there, and he's really into Facebook Live now.
Oh yeah.
And so I knew one of the times I was on his Facebook Live feed because he did a little mini interview with me on there, right? And I kept thinking the camera was pointing in a different direction than what it was. So
it went on
when he was pointing at me, I walked around behind him thinking that he had it on selfie mode.
Yeah.
and then I had to walk back in front of him, so it probably looked kind of loony to people who were watching. But then later on when I got home, I watched his feeds and found out that I was picked up on it a few different times. And one of the times, he's recording around the room, and he stops on me talking to this guy. He goes, "Oh, there's Adam again, talking about how much he hates superheroes again." And it's like, I don't hate superheroes. I'm just not that interested in the majority of what is coming out today that's superheroes. People hear you say, I don't read much superhero stuff these days, and they take that to mean I hate superheroes, right? It's like, well, if I hated superheroes, I wouldn't go watch the movies. I wouldn't do anything like that. What I mean by that is there's not much that's good that I've read that Marvel and DC are putting out these days, so I don't read the majority of the new stuff. Like, everybody told me how just absolutely fantastic Batman Court of Owls was, right? Mm-hmm. And I picked it up, and I'm like, okay, so it's Batman times Running Man. Or Batman, like, you've seen the Purge movies?
Yeah.
Okay, you know how in the second one they have that whole Running Man thing where the rich people are like buying the poor people to hunt in the maze, and it's like surviving the game.
Oh yeah.
Surviving the game's another one.
Oh.
So like Running Man, Surviving the Game, The Purge 2. This is just the Batman version of any of those.
Huh.
So it's like, it wasn't original. Like, the artwork's pretty good in it, but the dialogue was,
Yeah.
But there were a lot of people who, just absolutely loved it. And I picked up a copy from the library. I'm glad I didn't spend the $25 on the hardcover.
Right.
Because I read it and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I was on, Floyd's Facebook live feed. And it's funny because I'm doing these podcasts, a lot of them at this point. Like, Ben and I are recording. We actually did record the other night after I came back here. So it was a good thing I came back when my phone died. But, I've done the one with Robert. I'm doing the one with you right now. I'm doing them with Kiz, on lots and lots of podcasts. And yet you turn a camera on and point it at me, and I shrink. It's like when I've been on TV shows, I'm just like...
Yeah, my first experience with a camera, I think I was like 13. We went to go meet Andy Carson, our local weather dude. And the whole time they had this stupid monitor on the ground that showed what the camera was seeing, and I just could not like look into the camera. I was just staring at that screen down there like, that's me on a screen. It totally blew my mind, but just trying to look into the things just was not working.
Yeah, a few years ago, I was on Casey Okupe's show that was a public access thing in Salem, but he was also putting up on YouTube. That was I can't think of the name of it right now, but it's basically a comic variety show. So he had like local comic book creators on there, but he also had like wrestlers and people who collected comics were showing off their collections, just kind of whatever, right?
Oh yeah.
And public access studios are actually fairly nice. It was nicer than what I expected it to be. And I've been to like ABC studios and stuff, so it definitely wasn't on par with like ABC studios, but it was still a lot nicer than what I expected. Right before they started filming, they brought this big monitor over that I was looking right at, and it had my face on it. I was like, get it away. I can't do this if you're going to be pointing myself at me. Do I have to look at that?
Why would I want to look at me?
Right? And they're like, but you're beautiful. That's what Casey told me. Yeah, maybe, but I still don't want to look at me while I'm doing this. And he's like, okay, well, we can move that. That's not a big deal. I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah.
I would much
really
prefer
distracting.
That. It is. It's very distracting. Whereas when I was in San Diego and I was on Crippled and Broken down there, I was fine on that one because the guy who was interviewing me was sitting in a way that it looked like he was obscuring the cameras. And so that made it a lot easier to just have a one-on-one conversation with him.
Yeah.
Versus like, something pointing at me that I could see.
Yeah. You guys are both half turned towards it, like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, tell me a bit more about conventions. What's been your favorite one thus far that we've been to?
Favorite one? Frankencon I liked a lot.
Frankenstein?
Or Frankenstein, yeah. Or, what was his name this time?
It was the Frankenstein / Vancouver Toy Junkies show.
Yeah. I like that one a lot. A lot of cool people. I found a lot of old Beast Wars Transformers, which I was just totally stoked about. Found a really weird comic that I had no idea existed from one of my favorite, like, based off of one of my favorite authors' books. But they're in comic form, so, like, they take this entire, like, 400 page book and turn it into, like, a 48-page comic. And it's just cool seeing your characters that you envision in your head, like, on paper moving around.
And
like,
which one was that?
It was the first 3 Drizzt books.
By R.A. Salvatore?
But yeah, R.A. Salvatore. And then a Demon Wars one that I picked up too. But yeah, it was just really cool just to find all those just in a random, like, $4 for $1 box.
Right.
It's like 25 cents a piece. I can't beat this.
So was that your favorite because of the prices that were there?
The prices, just the layout of it was really nice just because you could kind of go through the whole thing and still, like, see your table for the most part.
Right. Yeah. That was a really cool show. That's the normal layout for the Vancouver Toy Junkies. Frankenstein is standardly held at an Elks Lodge in Portland. But those type of deals are the type of deals you get at both those shows. Yeah. So, I love both those shows. Absolutely love both those shows. Nice. The last one was a bit slower. But I think that was also because it was on the same weekend that a lot of kids were graduating from school.
Oh, yeah.
And, college age people too. Which, when you're planning a con, obviously you're not always going to plan for every little thing like that. So,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then everybody had graduation late in Oregon this year because of all the snow we had, delayed all the schools. So that would also make it a lot tougher to plan for, especially because I think you have to rent these places out, anywhere from 6 months to a year in advance.
Yeah. Well, didn't it also fall on Father's Day, or am I thinking of a different one? I know one of them fell on Father's Day.
It was the day before Father's Day, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So, yeah. My favorite one that we've done so far was Wenatchee.
Yeah, going the trip up there, everything about it was just awesome. Stumbling across that awesome little town on the way back was God, what was it? Crump's Cave. Yeah, that was
Krampus.
Krampus. Oh,
Cave.
Krampus's Cave. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crump's Cave.
Yeah, the reason Wenatchee was my favorite though is because that is the show that I've had the absolute best sells on Darkslinger comics specifically at.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this, you may know that one of the things I often do when I'm traveling around and do small shows is that I will load up some long boxes of cheap comics and resell those, as well as carve out a little space on the table to have as much Darkslinger product as I can fit. So I had pretty much the entire Darkslinger line on the table at this show, and also had about 11 or so long boxes. But for the most part, at that show, people weren't really overly interested in what I had in long boxes. They were interested in talking to me about the Darkslinger stuff, which hasn't been the case at a lot of the shows lately in Portland and Salem. But I think part of the reason for that is because a lot of the people in Portland and Salem are already familiar with what I do. So they already know when they see it, what I'm producing is something they like or don't like. So far, as of this point in the year, I've released 2 new products so far for Darkslinger. So I've released Elbovine Morte #1 in a physical edition, and I've released a Chronicles Von Helsing drinking glass. But I'm currently gearing up to do quite a few more product launches. So with any bit of luck, by the end of August, I'm going to have a Kickstarter going for Ghost Assassin issue #1.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm relaunching, doing what I would call a soft relaunch because I'm not actually redoing anything about it.
Yeah.
What was originally there is still there, with the exception of Ghost Assassin Origin, which was a story that in its original comic form I just didn't feel worked. So I went back and reworked it, added 6 pages to the script, changed some of what the script was originally. I had Joel Kotajar, my artist on Ghost Assassin, redraw the entire thing. And I think it looks amazing now and reads a whole lot better. I actually talked to some degree on the last podcast about why Ghost Assassin Origin didn't work. So hopefully by the end of August, I'll be able to have the Ghost Assassin Kickstarter launched, which, if that goes well, might enable me to release, let's see, it's August, so probably 2 issues of Ghost Assassin by the end of the year. Because, it takes 30 days for a Kickstarter to run, takes 2 weeks before you get your first payment. Depending on how well the campaign goes, it'll fund either 1 or 2 issues. Hopefully, I get enough funding to do 2 issues, because I have the second issue all ready to go, with the exception of 14 pages that need to be colored.
Yeah, and that Ghost Assassin, just seeing some of the pictures selling some of the posters at cons, and it was just, the artwork's just incredible. And
yeah, Joel did a great job, and Cece is one of the best colorists working in the industry currently.
Oh, nice.
I believe Cece is fantastic. One of the projects that I've actually got up and going as of the week that we're recording this, which it'll be a few more pages into it by the time this is actually released. One of the projects that I actually managed to get up and going this week was a brand new 7-page Elbovine Morte story. So I'm pretty excited about that. Wednesday saw the release of the first page. It actually seemed like reception on it was pretty good.
Nice.
I was a little bit afraid that some people might be sending me some hate mail because it's Lay Mime's pro-smoking commercial.
Yes.
But it is a joke.
Yeah. Right.
So, so I think anybody who actually reads something like Elbovine Morte would get that it's just a joke.
Yeah.
But But, you know, you never know what kind of hate mail you're going to get for anything like that.
That's true.
To my surprise, I didn't get any. But then again, it might be because my audience is so small. So, yeah, I got 7 pages going to that. And first page was released. Everybody that responded in some way through social media or, you know, talking to me directly seemed to absolutely love the page.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I remember you explaining the page in theory and, like, maybe wanting to make it like a live action commercial or something, but it definitely turned out well with the...
Yeah.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, that was great.
Well, what I want to do isn't live action. I want to take the comic pages at some point and softly animate them.
Oh, gotcha. That's right.
I don't know if I'll ever do that. Furthermore, I don't know if Gabriel wants his artwork to be animated by somebody, which is an important question to ask. But
definitely.
because I don't want to turn it into something like that and have the artist disapprove, you know.
Very true, yeah.
Because even when you're buying the rights to someone's artwork, you don't want to use it in a way that they don't like.
Yeah, overstep your bounds. And,
it's not a very good way to build a business relationship, that's for sure. But nowadays there's this program called After Effects, which you can actually use to do animation to still imagery. So you can add movement and all that kind of stuff. And it's not very complex animation that you add to it.
Yeah.
But it is possible, and one of the things that I've been thinking about, kicking around the idea of, is if I could hire somebody to do After Effects to some of it to kind of softly animate it, and then hire animator, be it Flash or traditional or whatever, to kind of come in and do little cut scenes that would kind of bridge the gaps between what After Effects had and, you know, what traditional animation would use.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that might be pretty cool. It would be costly to do, though.
I think it'd be cool, just like the kind of just where they like take the image and just kind of warp it and make it do stuff. The wolf in your Chronicles of Van Helsing, like just having it kind of like reach down. That'd be awesome just to have on your webpage, just so you could like it's like slowly moving in the background, looking like it's gonna like reach down and like pull another string of meat off of the bones. Like that'd be pretty neat.
That would be. I've never seen Tony's artwork animated. I wonder if he'd like that.
Yeah.
This Wednesday, we'll see the second page of that story. So I have El Bovine Muerte updates ready to go for the next 6 weeks, including this Wednesday that's coming up, which is pretty exciting for me because I have released some El Bovine Muerte updates throughout this year, but they've all been pinups up until this point. So, you know, I had the Independence Day pinup. I had the pinup that originally was set to be the cover for number 4. But what number 4 has changed now, so I'm going to change cover as well. That Paul Johnson did, where Mime Professional is squeezing Lay Mime.
Oh, yeah.
Mime Professional looks like a giant in the image. And then an image that Jackson Taylor did that's just a close-up on Lay Mime. And then a St. Patrick's Day, Lay Mime as a leprechaun, that Paul Johnson did earlier this year. But up until the 7-page story, that's been it for El Bovine Muerte for the last couple of years. So I'm pretty excited to have that one up and going again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Especially with everything else that you have going, like it's nice to have that kind of comic relief place to go to when you're still writing stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because some of my stories take my head to a pretty dark place.
Yeah.
So it comes in handy having El Bovine Muerte to kind of balance it out a little bit.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
Nice amount of comedy in there.
Yeah. I was going to add that I think Wenatchee was one of my favorites too. I think that's the one we were able to use the backdrop and get all the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been the only show thus far this year that I've actually been able to incorporate my backdrop into it.
That's fun to put together.
Yeah. Well, that's just a working prototype.
Oh, yeah.
So I've designed the final version of it because I've used that working prototype at about 5 shows and actually have 2 different backdrops I use depending on the size of the area behind my table. Because I have one that's 10 feet wide as well. That's more of a standard convention display. That's not a homemade thing.
Yeah.
That it's 8 feet tall and 10 feet wide.
Oh, damn.
And fits 4 banners going across it. You could get just one solid banner that was printed that big and put it on the entire thing on the back if you wanted to, or cut it into panels, you know, or so on and so forth. But when I used that at other shows, I have 4 different vinyl banners, but I like being able to have multiple images behind me, not just 4.
Yeah.
So while I love that display and will be using it at conventions as well, I like the ability to switch out between my displays.
Oh yeah, and the other one with the magnets and everything works out really well for that.
Yeah, and since I have the final version all worked up now that I've used that one as a prototype to see how it worked at a few cons over the years, now I'm ready to build that final version. So, it's going to take a bit of work because, it's a lot of cutting of steel and welding and so on and so forth. But
still like my little like rivet idea, like lattice thing, but I have a feeling it'd be kind of, I mean, we could always bolt it. We were thinking about that a while ago. Or actually at that show when I was trying to put that thing together. But no, during that show too, that aspiring artist like kept coming back and was just like, I need more and more, like just.
Oh, the little girl.
The little girl, yeah. With,
yeah.
The Helsing stuff.
Yeah.
She just loved it.
Like, yeah, she did. Yeah, and at first I thought that her dad wasn't going to let her buy any of it.
Yeah.
Because she was really looking at it, and and he was kind of looking at it, and he looked a little bit off-put by the violence in it.
Yeah.
But then she came back, and the first time she came back was without her dad.
Yeah.
And so I had her get her dad so that he could tell me it was okay to sell it to her.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to find out that, she was buying it behind her parents' back.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think, like, as she was leaving, she's like, I've seen way worse stuff than this. And, like, as she walked off to go grab her dad.
Which is probably true.
Oh, yeah.
But, as the creator of the work,
yeah,
I don't want to sell something to a kid and have a parent be all mad at me. And,
like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to take my kids to a Comic-Con and have a creator know that I didn't want them buying a certain something and then finding out that, they walked off from my table. And
yeah, but she actually seemed like professionally interested. Like,
yeah,
she was. She wants
very much so.
It kind of get like she's obviously drawn and stuff. And I think, didn't she show you some of her work too? Or
no, she didn't.
She didn't have any there?
No, it was a mom that was a few tables down from us who had some pictures that her daughter had done on her phone that she was showing to me.
Oh, gotcha. But yeah, that's just really cool that, like, someone who just loves drawing can just see something like that and be like, I have to have it, just kind of inspiration, kind of maybe more ideas, and yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool.
But yeah, we did sell a lot of Darkslingers in that one, and it kind of sold itself, like...
Yeah.
It
was not hard sells any of the day.
And it didn't seem like anyone wanted... I think we had like 5 people total dig through the long boxes that day. There
were a few more than that.
Well, I
but
obviously
a lot of
table,
those people also were also buying Darkslinger things, though, too.
Yeah.
So, and in that area, nobody had ever seen my stuff before, so it hadn't made its way to any of the comic shops, and I had never done a con in that area, so it was brand new to everyone who was there.
Yeah.
And they all kept making the same comment, which was that indie creators never do shows there. So, it pays off when you're an independent creator to take a look at shows, and we drove 7 hard hours there and turned around right after the show and drove an incredibly hard 7 hours back home. But
nail biting 7 hours.
Oh yeah, nail biting, because we got to a 40-mile stretch of nothingness and the gas gauge went on that we were almost out of gas. So we were driving 40 miles just desperately looking for a gas station while the needle was going down more and more and more.
Using all those downhills just to coast.
Yep. I was coasting down every hill I could, but how many hills were there that I had to climb up?
Exactly.
Far too many.
Right?
Yeah, and I was so exhausted by the time we finally got home.
Oh, yeah.
Because to do that show, I was up for about 34 hours straight.
Yeah, I think I was at 48.
Yeah.
Because I worked the day before, was going to get a nap or something. Turned out it didn't. We left at midnight. And then.
But you're also 10 years younger than me.
Oh,
so.
Well, no, that's true. No. Not trying to one up you. I was just saying
that was joking with you.
That was a really, that was a long haul, but it was a lot of fun.
It was not the longest I've ever driven to be at a show, but it's the longest I've driven to be at a show for a while.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and probably the longest you ever had to drive for a show just for one day, just to drive
No.
back. No?
There's
been other shows?
No, because let's see here, was it 4 years ago, I believe? Kate and I drove up to Bellingham for just one day.
Oh, wow.
Or was it Bellingham? It was at the Canadian border in any case.
No.
And so, I believe it was Bellingham. And that was a good 8 hours there. And then we drove 8 hours back. But One of the differences between the two is that on the way to Bellingham, it's all I-5.
Yeah.
And you can stop pretty much anytime you want, and it's not any turns or twists or,
It's just a straight shot.
Yeah, when we were going to Wenatchee, it was a lot of uphill driving, downhill driving, sharp corners, like...
out in the middle of where
not a whole lot of places to stop and rest for a minute, just,
Yeah. Way too many, those giant gravel pits for the trucks, like the runaway truck.
Oh, yeah, runaway truck
ramps. Lots of those.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we did Bellingham, it really sucked because we went up there and it turned out to only be like a 3-hour show.
Oh, no.
So strange. But that also made us less tired by the time we got home.
Yeah.
Because, it's a lot different when you drive 7 hours, work like 9 hours, and then drive home for 7 hours versus like driving 8 hours, working for 3, and then turning around and driving back for 8. But that show in Bellingham, the people who got a hold of me asked me if I wanted to be a guest of some sort, and it was a college convention. And traditionally, when I've done stuff, is just Darkslinger comics, because there are several conventions that I'll do that I'll only do as Darkslinger. I don't take any long boxes or anything like that to resell things at. Mm-hmm. So I just went to that show just as Darkslinger, because traditionally, when I've done college towns, I've done very, very well. Like Eugene, I've done extremely well at, so on and so forth. So Spokane, I've done really well at. So I thought going to Bellingham, I'm going to do great, all this and that. They talked about how it was going to be this huge college thing, but they didn't tell me that it was during a 2-week period when no one was at school. So, so for starters, there's like nobody there. Everybody's gone home for whatever vacation it is.
Yeah.
There's very little people there. There just was not a lot of flyers put up. There was not a lot of anything. There were no balloons outside.
I was just going to mention the
balloons. Which, as we both know, balloons make or break a show. And so I think...
Whether it's to the taco truck or not.
Right? I think I walked away from... At that time period, I had Chronicles Von Helsing number 1 through 4 printed. I didn't have issue number 5 or the mini that I now have printed up. So I sold number 1 through 4 as a bundle edition. And I sold one of those. And unless I'm mistaken, that is all I sold.
Oh, no.
After an 8-hour trip. But it was still like an interesting show. They advertised they were having the Smoking Man as a special guest from the X-Files.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just totally random. I don't know if he lives in the area or not. But that was far from the worst show I ever did. The worst show I ever did was actually one that I drove 12 hours down into California to be at. Had hotel stay for 3 days. Food costs, so on and so forth, and made $20.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a painful show. And that show, I don't want to mention the name because it's a show that's still ongoing. And, who knows? It might be a much better show now. I don't know. But that show had some huge names in the comic industry at it. Like, Jim Lee was at it, and I know you may not be familiar with who that is.
No.
But he was quite famous as an X-Men artist back in the 90s. He was one of the founders of Image Comics. He went on to be one of the best Batman artists that ever lived, working on Batman Hush. He's been responsible for several video game designs, things of that nature. It had him at it. It had Alex Nino, who, should be a pretty big name in the comic industry.
Yeah.
But I'm not really sure if his fan base is huge or if it's just rabid for his stuff. I know the people who love Alex Nino, like, really, really love Alex Nino, but I don't know if he has a giant fan base like some of the other guys.
Yeah.
But, usually somebody with a rabid fan base still, draws a lot of people through the door.
Oh, yeah.
So there are a lot of these people I'm seeing on the guest list, and, like, they had some movie stars there, like Tom Jane. He played the Punisher in the first Punisher film.
Gotcha.
He was there, like Tim Bradstreet, who does the covers for the Punisher comics. Mm-hmm. He was there, and so I'm thinking, okay, there's all these names. There's going to be so many people here, right? And it appeared to be such a big con, but I don't think the attendance was over what, like, you would see at one of the shows around here that I pay like $35 to be at.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to one of the comic fans outside, and I'm like, I'm really surprised that there aren't more people here. And he's like, why? I'm like, well, you have this guy and this guy and this guy. And he's like, oh, that's people who live in this area. Like, and he's like, they're at all the cons. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So, in this area, we have a lot of comic creators who are very big names who no one really cares when they appear at cons. Because they're at every single con, and if you want something autographed from them and you don't have a chance this time, don't worry, you'll get it next time.
Or, hey, can I mow your lawn for an autograph?
Right. Something like that. Yeah, so that was definitely, but you just never know with conventions. Like, the reason I did Wenatchee, I just saw it being advertised. The cost of the table wasn't that much. Didn't have anything going on that weekend. You were willing to go with me to help.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I did it. I did a show in Pullman, Idaho. Is it Pullman, Idaho or Pullman, Washington? I don't remember because you're in both Idaho and Washington on the way there. But Pullman in any case.
That place.
I think it's on the Idaho. No, it's the Washington side because it's heading towards Spokane. So it's Pullman, Washington. I did a show there about 4 years ago where my buddy Alan Bennett, Black Box Comics, and I drove up. We get there and there's probably a half foot of snow on the ground, right?
Oh, no.
And so I've never been at a con that had snow on the ground.
You're like,
so I get out of the car and I look and I'm like, oh shit, Alan, nobody's going to show up. And he's like, I know, I've never seen snow at a convention. This is weird, right? And 15 minutes before it opens, I go outside and there's just a line of people like wrapping around the building, right?
Oh, wow.
And that day I could barely get away from the table just to look at what was there or even to like go grab a drink or whatever because it was just, person after person after person all day long and it was fantastic. I made a ton of money there and the show was ran exceptionally well. It was a first-time show by a first-time showrunner. Oh. And, shouts out to Jay McCassie because he did a fantastic job running that convention. I hope that he does more cons in the future.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And plus, you got to figure if anyone did like dress up, depending on the size of the con or what kind of con it is. You got that nice snow background that you can get your beauty shots in.
Oh yeah, and there were a lot of cosplayers that were doing costume contest.
Oh, nice.
One of the coolest there was. Did you ever play Silent Hill?
Oh yeah.
Okay, the fucked up looking nurse thing in Silent Hill. Yeah, there was a girl there who was dressed up as her and had the walk down.
Oh,
so that she walked like it. It was creepy as shit. Like, I'm a big horror fan, and I'm kind of like,
get away from my table.
You're creeping me out a little. I kind of love it.
Do it again.
So, the 2 Kickstarters I've ran so far this year, you've been generous enough to back both of them.
Yes.
Did you know about Kickstarter before that?
I've heard about it with just by a couple of things, like random things would pop up on Facebook, be like, click here to, just like little unique ideas, like people come up with that they just kind of want funded, and I always thought of it was just...
Sit a little bit closer to that.
I always thought it was just for that, but no, it's cool that you can, like, use it to pretty much fund anything. Like, yeah, it was pretty much the first time I ever actually, like, used Kickstarter. Like,
okay.
I actually made my profile and everything just so I could back it.
Well, I appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
So, what do you think of that platform? Because as I'm moving towards the Ghost Assassin Kickstarter, one of the things I'm asking myself, this will be my 6th Kickstarter, but one of the problems I've ran into with all 5 that have come before this is people, even though Kickstarter is a huge platform at this point, it's been around for quite a while. It's mentioned in TV shows, like everybody knows what it is at this point, it seems like, but there are still a lot of people out there who don't know how it works. So did you find that process difficult to understand?
Well, it helped that I was able to ask you directly about it.
Okay, fair enough.
But I can kind of see it. I mean, obviously it just takes a little bit of reading or like looking into it. That some people might just want the instant gratification of just like, I put this much towards this, I get the product. That's all I want. Like,
right.
They don't look into the fact that like it doesn't charge you until it's funded and stuff like that. Like, I mean, obviously if you read down into it, it'll tell you all this, but like, at a glance, it just didn't really seem like it. And also, like, the different levels and stuff sometimes can get confusing.
Oh, so like the different incentive levels?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, other than that, I mean, obviously they've worked out a bunch of kinks and it's huge, but as far as just like jumping into it, like it definitely takes looking through and all the options and if you're actually selecting the right one or if it's you actually wanted the different one, you might. But usually it's pretty easy just to switch among things too. So
Right.
like all around, I like the way it's set up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And have you heard of Indiegogo?
I have not.
Okay. It's probably the biggest competitor Kickstarter has. Kickstarter, is in every way, shape, or form bigger than it.
Yeah.
But it's basically, in the crowdfunding world, they're basically the eBay and Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Like, one wants to be what the other one is, and it's kind of debatable which one wants to be which one this week. So I'm actually thinking about running a couple of Indiegogo campaigns. Just to kind of see how funding goes on those, or on that platform. Because I have yet to do, it's called Indiegogo.
Okay, but it's for everybody still?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It actually allows for more things than Kickstarter does.
Oh.
Because Kickstarter doesn't allow you to use it to fund the startup of a business.
Oh.
Although in ways it does, because you're funding the first product for a business in a lot of instances.
And it kind of gets you noticed too.
Yeah.
By someone who might be able to help you with
that. If you're smart, you can turn your Kickstarter into a full-fledged business.
Oh yeah.
But Indiegogo, you can actually say this is the type of business I want to do and fund it on there. You can also fund I've seen people fund hospital bills through Indiegogo.
Oh.
It's not just specific to projects that you want to fund. It's basically, what do you want to fund? We're here to fund whatever you want to fund.
Exactly.
So Indiegogo
there's
also
the GoFundMe too.
There is GoFundMe,
but
which
that's more of a it seems more personable.
Yeah, in GoFundMe, there are people who use it to create projects, but it's definitely a lot more people who are like, click here to help whoever's in the hospital right now, or click here to help out my honeymoon fund, or that kind of stuff.
Or for weddings and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah. With Indiegogo, they have what's called flexible funding. So if your goal isn't met at the end of it, you can still get whatever's pledged, minus a slightly bigger fee than if it were hit. People have pretty mixed feelings on that one. Because, with Kickstarter, if you hit your goal, that the person who hit the goal has all the money that they asked for, and hopefully they did the math correctly.
Yeah.
With Indiegogo, it's kind of, okay, well, you needed $1,000 to get this project up and going. You only raised $200. Do you actually have the money you need to do this project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rather than Kickstarter, if you're $3 short, it doesn't get funded.
Right.
And they don't have that little.
Yeah,
safety net.
Man, would it be hard to not get funded by $3?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying something close to where, you're pretty much all the way funded, but just because of the rules of the thing, or if someone backs out at the last second, to scramble and get the word out there to just need a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, you can do that last minute push, and
Yeah.
But I want to try it out on Indiegogo and kind of see how it goes. So I'm actually thinking about using Indiegogo to fund one of the other Elbow Vine Morte issues in a print version.
Nice. Cool.
But I'm planning on doing that after my next Kickstarter. So.
Oh, and obviously having two of those at the same time would be just way too hectic. To even fathom.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that.
You'd have to devote your energy to one or the other, picking between the two.
And you're also asking your backers to fund two different things at once, and trust you that you're going to deliver on both of them. And that's a much taller order than, if you can fund me on this one thing, and then I'm going to ask you to fund me again, in the future, sort of thing. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this and want to hear more, you can come back next Monday. We will be doing a new podcast every Monday. If you want to learn more about Darkslinger Comics, you can visit www.darkslinger.com. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, Facebook. On Facebook, we have fan pages for Darkslinger Comics, Ghost Assassin, El Bovine Muerte, and Chronicles Von Helsing. So, for the Darkslinger Mafia podcast, I'm Adam Watson. Thank you for listening.